What's up YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Today we have an issue with the New Holland, and the issue is water in the hydraulic lines. So I'm going to show you how to drain the reservoir and to flush the lines without removing the skid plate underneath, and also show you one of the main reasons for this problem. So stay tuned and let's get it started. Yeah. So to confirm, we do have water in the line. If you remove your dipstick, you will notice that it's white and milky. And you can see that it's contaminated with water. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the dipstick here, and we're going to drain the tank by siphoning out the oil from the tank. So first thing you want to do is get as much of the contaminated oil out as possible. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the dipstick, and we're going to siphon everything out through here. Like I said, you can see definitely contaminated. So once you get your dipstick removed, what you want to do is, what I use is a small pump. You can get these cheap pretty much anywhere, and it hooks to your battery. I'm going to connect it. We're going to put it into the reservoir. And the other end we're going to put into a bucket. So let you see it pumping. Definitely see. So we're going to pump this out until it stops. So that'll be your first step, is to get everything pumped out. So one of the main reasons that this particular brand gets water in the reservoir is on the cap. If you notice, the inside, you'll notice that there's a filter, which if it's not in the right place, it will let water seep through these holes and enter in. And the other reason is around here, if you notice how this is designed, as water comes in or it rains, it should run off the side here. But over time, there's a gasket under here, and if that gasket goes out, water accumulates here and it just drains down into the tank. So normally I keep this covered up, but unfortunately I didn't get it covered up, and we had a lot of rain, so I knew that was the problem. So I'm gonna take this off and check the gasket also, and possibly make another gasket and put silicone in here. So those are your two reasons. One, double check, make sure you have the filter in here, which is that inside. And then the other reason, check to see if your gasket is worn out around here. If it has, then just take this off and put in a new gasket or put silicone around it. And I'm going to show you how to prevent that in the future. So, as you can see, this gasket is in pretty bad shape. So that could be the culprit. And underneath, which is here, it should actually be another gasket here that seals around here. And don't know if it's just missing or in bad shape, but you can see definitely water. So that's our main culprit. So another thing you can do is you can pick up a pump like this, which is inexpensive, and that'll help speed up everything while you're pumping with the electric motor. But so far the reservoir holds 6.5 gallons, and so far we've pumped out about 3.5. So that's the first section. We're going to go empty that and start back pumping again. Then once you get everything emptied out, we're going to refill the reservoir and go out and run it, and then we're going to open up the cylinder lines to see if we're getting clean fluid up front. So let's get it filled up. Refill it, because you're going to have to flush the lines. We're going to see how much is in here, so we're going to take this line loose, which will boom in the up position. So we're just trying to get as much as out of the lines as possible before we refill it again or re-flush it. So you want to loosen this one up. So once it's running clear with just hydraulic fluid, we're going to check the other lines, operate the machine, and then come back and re-bleed the lines again. And to flush your auxiliary lines, which we're gonna do last, because I hadn't used it, so it should be good fluid in here. In order to keep from breaking those lines, you basically just take your plug, you're gonna plug here, and take this one and plug there. And then we'll let it bleed out from here. But this should have, these lines should have good fluid through them, since I hadn't operated those, but we got those bled. And now let's go operate the machine and come back and refill the reservoir and bleed it again. All right, pump it slow. All right, stop. Pump it. Come here. Keep going. All right. So we got the system bled out and all the water out the line. We're gonna bleed it one more time, and then we'll come back and bleed the auxiliary lines. But what I did is, for the purpose of the video, I just showed you what comes out of the lines so that you can see the milky oil that comes out. But what I did is actually took a line and connected it to the plug, and then just ran the other end of the line into a bucket and just pumped it out that way. Like I said, for the purpose of the video, just wanted to show you what comes out of the line as we bled each line, and then just connect the line to it and just continue to bleed it until you empty your bucket and you get clear fluid running out into the bucket. So like I said, we'll bleed the system one more time, and then we'll come back and bleed the hydraulic lines just to make sure everything is good. So the process is to make sure you keep enough oil in the system so when you're bleeding it, you don't affect your pump. So I have the fluid pumping into the system, and once it reaches its proper level, we're going to go ahead and start bleeding it. And so like I said, I got the hose running into a bucket, and we'll go ahead and bleed this front line. Here is the next setup. We're gonna bleed this side, and we got it going into our bucket. Got the bucket empty. Now we're gonna bleed this side. So we got our setup. We're going to do the same thing to drain all auxiliary lines, and basically your coupling is on the end, and we just going to connect and we'll do each one of them. This will be the third flush of the auxiliary line. No water in the line, but the fluid was dark. So I'm gonna drain it until we can get clear fluid. So let's see if this one will do it. So this is the third flush. Once you got all your lines bled and your hydraulic fluid filled back to the right level, the next step is to come around the back, and you're going to change your hydraulic filter. So we'll take that out and change that filter. And then next, you can see the gasket, which was in pretty bad shape, but the gasket goes beneath here, and then another one is here, sandwiched between the filler cap. So you're gonna put your gaskets there, and then make sure you put silicone, add silicone or RTV silicone to it, and then on both spots, sandwich it in, put your screws back in. And then to prevent it from happening again, we're gonna go down here and make sure you have a gasket here, but you want to put silicone around that and then seal this back in. That way water doesn't get in. And then for the top, to prevent water, you're gonna take just a regular plastic container. You're gonna cut the top off of it and place it over the top, and then as your cap go down, as your cover go down, it'll hold it, so that way it won't pop off while you're working or anything, and you won't forget to put it back on. So that's what we'll get taken care of next. So this is one way to flush your entire hydraulic system and to remove all the contaminated oil out of the system. It took me about 20 gallons to flush the entire system, and that's including the hydraulic lines. If you're just using this process to change your oil, the whole system takes about 6.5 gallons. So if you're just changing your oil, you won't use as much. So once we got all the contaminated oil out, the next thing we did is you have a filter that's in here, and you have gaskets that's around there. You want to make sure both of those are good. In our case, our gaskets were bad, so those are special order gaskets. So in that case, you may want to order those in advance. So what I did is just made 2 and put those around, and then put silicone there. Make sure your breather filter is good, because you'll get water in from here, and that's where the cover comes in. And just make this out of a simple container and cover it up, and that'll eliminate water going through the breather. And then you want to put silicone around the base of your dipstick, and that way you won't get water in there. And then finally, you want to make sure you change the hydraulic filter. And once you've done that, that should take care of all your problems as far as water getting in through your reservoir. So hope this video helps. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and hit the notification for more upcoming videos. We'll talk to you later.